So, Gio, uh, it's no it's no secret that range is a very important number for anyone ever buying an electric car. We know it. We've written about ranges a lot over the past 2 years, and for many people, like I said, it's the most important thing. It's the only thing a lot of people actually want to know. The most part, whenever a new car comes out, and we're seeing a little range war going on right now. You know, Tesla hit over 400 miles on their Model S, 402 miles to be exact. Now we got Lucid Motors coming out saying they can deliver 500 miles. Uh, so for the first time, Tesla won't be in the lead if the actual production vehicle can get to the 517 miles they promised. So obviously, I'm here to ask you: at what point is the range going to be enough? As we all know, or as me and you have found out, the average American drives about 37 miles a day.
Yeah.
And one of the best things about an electric car is that if you have access to a charger, you can basically start every day with a full quote unquote tank, and have the full range available to you every single day. And even if you don't live in a house or maybe an apartment with a plug nearby, charging stations are they're getting up there in how prevalent they are. So it may not be as common as a gas station, but charging stations are getting around and becoming more accessible to people. So obviously, it looks like range for the most part is still the most talked about figure whenever a new electric car comes out, and I'm sure that automakers will continue to push how much range their future cars have. But I want to know, what is the sweet spot of range? At what point is the range too much and it's really just kind of bragging rights? You obviously have a Model S, so you know how much miles you drive every day. What do you think is the optimum range for an
Well,
electric car?
I think we've already hit it, but I don't think increasing these range numbers is more so for bragging rights. I think it's for getting over that mental barrier that most people still haven't. Range anxiety isn't a real thing. It's, something people have in their head. Like you said, the average American drives less than 40 miles, less than 30 miles a day. Even if you take a road trip once a year, twice a year, once a month, let's say, there's plenty of charging stations nearby. And if you're taking a road trip, you're stopping for a bathroom break, you're stopping for lunch. It's plenty of time to fill up the charge and just keep going. So we've been there. I think we hit the sweet spot somewhere around 250. Anything after this has been just to get over that mental barrier for people,
Mm-hmm.
because it when you do compare it, it does sound bad. An electric car at 250 has half the range of the gas car, and there's nowhere to charge it. As we both know, everyone charges their car at home, and you don't have to go to the gas station once a week. You don't have to charge your car once a week. It's charged every night in the comfort of your home. But
Right.
it still sounds bad on paper.
Right. So you agree with Elon when he was talking about the cancellation of the standard range Model Y, and he said that they couldn't get it over 250 miles, and under 250 miles is just
Yes and no.
unacceptable.
Yes and no. I For that mental barrier, yeah, under 250 miles is unacceptable, but I still feel like it should be an option because the largest cost of an electric vehicle is the battery. There
Mm-hmm.
are plenty of people who can make do with a 100-mile range EV, and it'll save thousands of dollars. If I could cut 100 miles of range from my Model S and save $10,000, I would do it without a doubt because I don't need the range. So once you do get over that mental barrier and you realize what you use daily and you realize how fast superchargers have become, or regular level 3 charging stations if you don't have a Tesla, you realize that you don't need it all. It's not even a more convenience factor because there is no convenience added. For the majority of people, you'll never use a charging station. The majority of people will never touch a charging station in their life, especially with the average household having more than one car. Why would you travel in your EV until the day comes where you have two EVs? But that's years from now.
Well, it's funny you talk about 100-mile range being enough for you because I got the car for you. Because a couple days ago, Candy came out with their K27, K23, and K27, those really boxy Chinese electric cars, and that K27, I believe, is 100 miles of range, and that thing costs about, after incentives, like 10 grand, 11 grand. Is that what you're going for? Is that your next car?
I would love it if Tesla made something like that. I would love it if Tesla made a $15,000 Tesla that has 100, 150 miles of range.
Is that the bare
It's
minimum?
not going to be for
I mean, what's
everyone.
what's the bottom minimum range where it actually becomes no longer acceptable to sell a car with such
Probably
small
under
range?
100,
Probably under
all the
100.
compliance cars. But even then, there's still plenty of people that have made use of compliance cars that could still make use of compliance cars. I would love to get an electric smart that does, what is it, 57 miles of range just for in-city driving.
I think a little bit more. Yeah, but it would have to be really cheap. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no,
You're not
100%.
going
I
to
would
spend
buy
20
used.
grand on a.
No. No, it's we're past that time. Now range has gotten higher. It doesn't make sense to spend $20,000 on a 50-mile range car.
Yeah. Um. So when do you when do you think range anxiety will, I don't know, start to diminish, and such a prominence of advertising the range
Well,
becomes
range
less?
anxiety has gone hand in hand with misinformation. It's mostly brought by people who don't realize that you can charge your car at home. People that don't realize that they only drive 30 miles a day. People think they drive more than they actually do. So I don't think it'll ever go in. I don't think hitting a specific range number is ever going to change that. And even with 1,000-mile range, I think you'll still have people who say, "Yeah, but there's nowhere to charge the car."
I hope if we
They're
I
all going
hope
to
I
be
hope not.
uninformed people, of
I
course,
hope not
but
at 1,000 miles.
it's the most common interaction I have is, where do you charge it? There's nowhere to charge it. There's a gas station on every corner. I never have to worry about it. And it's kind of true, in an emergency scenario, I could see how someone's mind can go, "Oh, what if?"
Hmm.
But what if isn't reality.
Right, but let's say 2040, 2045 hits, right, and we're supposed to, like, a lot worldwide countries have banned gasoline cars. At that point, charging stations might become even more prevalent than the current gas stations. Do you think range anxiety will even exist then if charging infrastructure becomes so advanced?
Well, I think charging infrastructure is more important than increasing range on cars.
Yes.
And I think that, so to answer your question, no. I don't remember if it was a yes or no. To answer your question,
I'm asking, will
I
there
think
be less range anxiety if there will be a more
if there was an
advanced
increased amount of
charging
chargers,
infrastructure? Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah, I think so. The number one concern is the amount of where you can charge.
Right,
So
not how
even
much.
with level 1 or level 2 chargers, it doesn't even necessarily have to be fast chargers, because again, these chargers will only be used for the what if moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, level 3 DC chargers are great if you're traveling, but that's not really the concern most people have when they mention range anxiety. It's, emergency situations. It's the fact that they can fill up the gas car at every corner. So if they just added a level 2 charger to every gas station, that would be fine, I think. I think most people would be more accepting of EVs. We don't necessarily need these massive level 3 infrastructures at 350 kilowatts. Again, they're great and perfect for travel, and it does 100% make it as comparable to a gas car in terms of travel, but it's not a necessity for daily use, for A to B driving.
Um. Well. Okay. Yeah. So, where do you think range will eventually, I don't know, stabilize? Because if we look at things like horsepower, which is another important metric that people sometimes care or don't care about. I mean, if you're getting a Toyota Corolla, I doubt you really care about the horsepower, but still. Um, Obviously, as the decades have gone on, the horsepower available for cars has increased, but the average sedan, coupe, family car, the horsepower has kind of stabilized over the past 10 years or so, somewhere in the 250, 300 horsepower range, somewhere like that. And only the exotic cars or the really sporty performance cars are the ones that are pushing the barrier forward to 1,000 horsepower and up and above, 800, 900, that much. So do you think in the next, 10, 20 years, most of the cars will have, a range that has been equilibrated and only a certain few amount of cars continue to push how much batteries can give? And if you do, what do you think that range, what do you think the quote unquote like standard range will be in like 10 years?
Well, you have to separate range to battery size. I think we've hit what our average battery size is going to be from 75 to 100 kilowatts, and I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, efficiency will get better.
So
and
is that
density will get better, but I think that's going to be savings on the manufacturer, not more range added to consumers.
so you think that's the play?
I think
you
we've hit the standard battery size at 100. That's it.
So you think, like, for instance, hypothetically, we get to, I don't know, 500 miles. 500 miles is good enough for most people, and instead of advertising 500 miles of range, manufacturers will start to say, oh, we get 500 miles of range with only like a 55 kilowatt hour battery, whilst the competition only gets it out of 70, so you're using less
No,
energy.
I think the battery size is going to stay the same from 70 to 100, and range and numbers are going to increase based off 75 to 100 kilowatts.
Oh, okay.
Kilowatt hours.
Right. But, okay, but let's say in the future, hypothetically, the standard, kilowatt hour battery is 70, 80 kilowatt hours. What do you think the agreed upon unofficial range is going to be?
I mean, I'm no scientist. I don't know
Yeah.
where this technology is taking us. I don't know what peak efficiency is. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if we're near it or not.
Yeah.
I don't know what's theoretically possible. Maybe
Throw
it's
me a
possible to get 1,000 miles in 1 kilowatt. I don't know what theoretical peak is, but I do think that battery sizes will stay at this. So we know Tesla has hit with these, what are they at? 402 miles with 100 kilowatt hour and
Mm-hmm.
mid 300s with a 75 kilowatt hour.
Low 300s.
We don't know if that's peak. We don't know if they can keep going. We don't know if they can achieve 500 with that same 100 kilowatt hour battery. Lucid did mention a 500 mile range vehicle, but we don't know the battery size for that.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer one of the original questions, I do think that we will see flagship vehicles, more luxurious vehicles that do have a lot further range for bragging rights, like we do with horsepower and such.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one actually needs the extra horsepower in an S550, but it's there. It's added as a premium spec, and we'll have a premium spec of 120, 150 kilowatts, maybe even 200 kilowatts, like the Roadster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't.
I mean, are you happy with you? I mean, you're happy with your. I mean, at this point, what your Model S is 230,
Like
240 miles.
40, yeah.
That's good enough for you.
I mean, I wish for the same price I could have bought the car today at 409, but I'm not stressing about 250 miles of range now. There's no issue with it.
Well, what about the Taycan? Yeah, that's 204 miles. You don't have a problem with the 204-mile range. You have a problem with the range to price.
The Taycan's a weird car because you hit that thing where it's like, okay, it's a premium car, so it should have premium specs, which I think we both agree that premium cars of the future will be higher ranged cars.
Yes.
But the Taycan's a premium spec car that has low range, low to mid range.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an odd car.
It's an odd car.
Because it just, I don't know. I don't think you need it, especially with a sports car. No one's driving any Porsche 30,000 miles a year. No one is. Maybe the Macan, but for those $150,000, $250,000 Porsches, there's no one putting 30,000, 40,000 miles a year on those cars.
That's true.
Which if you ran, what's the quick math? If you ran 200 miles every day, 365 days.
And what do I look like, a calculator to you? 200 miles a day for 300.
If you ran the Taycan full range every day.
Man, you're gonna make me sound like you're really gonna showcase my bad math right now?
Oh, 2 times 365 add a 0.
That's too much already.
740.
73,000 miles.
I was off by 1.
You were off by
73,000 miles.
Yep.
So yeah, no one's driving 73,000 miles a year in an exotic car. No one is. So it's fine where it is,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think the future Taycan will have a lot more range. I
Yeah.
think we can expect to see 500 miles range in the next 3 years on the Taycan,
I don't know about 3 years. I don't know.
next generation Taycan.
I think it might take a couple of generations. I think they need to hit 300 miles before they hit 500 miles. I mean,
I
it's
mean, if others achieve it, if Lucid is really achieving it, right?
yeah,
If Tesla achieves it,
yeah,
whoever achieves it, not every manufacturer has to make their own battery.
right.
I think Tesla's openly talked about being okay with selling some of their batteries, providing it to other manufacturers. So not everyone needs to make their own most efficient battery. Eventually, we could have just one company doing it best.
Yeah, but with the speed that I mean, think about it. Tesla already hit 400 miles. Lucid already supposedly hit 500 miles, and we haven't even had a non-Tesla car go over the 300-mile benchmark. So I think it's gonna take a while before someone like Porsche can even think about a 500-mile EV. Because it's more than just obviously than just the battery
Well, for the
efficiency.
price of the Taycan, you could add another 100 kilowatts in it, and it wouldn't really affect their margins much.
Well, apparently it did. I don't know how much their R&D cost was. So I don't know how much.
It has like what, a 97 or a 93 kilowatt hour.
Something like that. Yeah, 97,
I mean,
93.4.
excluding R&D, just strictly margins on cost of
Ridiculous
build.
like that. Yeah.
It comes out to what, an extra 10% on the car. They
Maybe
could at least add it as an option. They could add it as a $30,000 option. The car gets 500 miles of range. It wouldn't be so unique for an exotic car.
Yeah, but Porsche's all
What's
about.
Ferrari charge for leather seats?
Oh my God, you're firstborn. But Porsche's all about their driving dynamics. They'll say that the extra weight isn't going to be worth it, and then their car isn't going to drive the way they want it. So I don't think
You're right.
I don't think the solution is to just add more battery. It's like you said, probably 100 kilowatts will be the upper limit, and we just have to work on actual
Well, the Roadster wants
densities.
to have 200 kilowatts in half the car.
Yeah, but that was back in 2017. We currently have the Model S, which supposedly should be a fatter car, a heavier car, so it's less efficient than what the Roadster should be, and that's getting 402 miles out of a 100 kilowatt battery.
So you think Tesla's gonna back out of the 200 kilowatts, just put like 150,
probably
and achieve the 600 mile range,
Yeah.
or do you think they'll still keep the 200 kilowatt hour
Dude.
and use it towards performance?
And I thought you were gonna ask me if they're gonna just go 800 miles.
No, I don't think they'll do that. Because, like you said, it kind of makes no sense to add weight to the car, especially if it's a performance car.
No, I'm thinking it would be more like a 150, 140 kilowatt hour battery, and then just stick with the originals.
What about the Plaid? That's for sure going to have a larger battery than 100, but it's going to be used towards performance, not towards range.
Yeah, because they have a whole extra motor. I've been wondering how much range is actually gonna be sacrificed for the performance gain. But if your starting range is 402 miles, I mean they can afford to throw a lot of the extra power into performance, because even if the range is gonna go down 25%, that's still 300 miles. So I don't think many people will be upset at a 300-mile range EV.
I think if I had to guess, I think it's going to match with the performance model S does right now. I don't think they'll go lower.
I think they'll go lower.
You think so?
I think so.
Price? What do you think the price on that car is going to be? The original P100s were 135 with every option.
Probably. What's the current performance?
I think 99,000 starting. 99.9.
I'm gonna say 120.
You don't think it's gonna be a significant jump?
I mean, 20 grand is a significant jump.
Yeah, but we've already seen a $135,000 Tesla.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
P100Ds. So you think it? I don't know.
Yeah, but everything got cheaper since then, so it would be the equivalent of like $150,000, $160,000 back in old.
I'm gonna say 129 starting.
Wow,
which puts it at like 150 with full self-driving and such.
This dude just said I didn't raise it enough, and then just adds $9 grand to my price as if that's that much more. All right, bro.
That's it.
I see you.
The $9 grand's a lot.
Okay, bro. And the range is gonna be the same as the performance. That completely invalidates the performance then. Well, it doesn't completely because it's going to be $30,000 cheaper hypothetically. So I guess no, I think
Or
it's
do you
good.
think they'll just swap out the
No,
performance model for the?
no, I think the performance model is still going to be. I think the range is going to be 350 at most, unless battery day comes and they told me they created the best super battery in the world and it's even better than solid state batteries or whatever, and it can, I don't know, just do
Whatever
everything.
tech is in Plaid is what you can assume it's what was going to be in the next gen Roadster. Because that next gen Roadster was set to release this year and it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. I think when they were talking about the Plaid, they said that the development of the Roadster was incorporated into creating the Plaid powertrain. So there's some Roadster DNA in there. But we've gone on a major tangent. Range.
As always.
You say it's good enough. I say
Good enough.
it's pretty much good enough. 300 miles, 400 miles, it's already good enough. Obviously, people have a lot of range anxiety. People live in apartments with no plugs, still have to go to other charging stations to get their charge on. So for them, it still might not be good enough, and those people will want as much range as possible. But when we reach the point where there's as many charging stations as there are gas stations, then really anything over, I don't know, 150 miles, 200 miles is probably good enough, as long as it's reasonably priced. Obviously, if a car costs $80,000, I would not want something that's only 150 miles in range. That's just a pain.